Great stuff. So I wanted to do a couple of different things. Number one, I wanted to kind of help to draw in on the stuff we talked about yesterday with the two people that we had up front, okay? But number one is, Pat talked about some of the things from his world. Derek talked about some of the things from his world. Ben talked about some of the stuff from his world that's very similar to kind of like Pat's model as well. And, it's important to recognize that where I am at, I'm not good at what Pat does. I'm just not. Pat has his way of doing things that's phenomenal. I want to bring people to Pat, and I want to turn them over to him. I want to get them to a point that they're safe enough to be able to do it. And to me, there's kind of standards that matter to me to be able to get to that point. I see some clients that want to stay with me. They don't want to be turned over to a colleague of mine because they're comfortable with it. We've created a relationship that's actually been really worthwhile. We've got this. They like novelty. They don't want to do boring shit. They don't want to do the same stuff, every single time they come in. That's just not how they're wired. They want to feel good. They don't want to hurt. They don't want their injury, ailment, or problem to get worse on them. Every now and then I'll be like, you know what? It might be fun to have you just kind of go spend a couple sessions with John or with Jeff or something like that, because they'll bring you to that next level. But that's not where they're at. So to me, I want to get everybody. Now, I just keep alluding to Pat and Derek. I want to bring people to that world. But the things that I'm talking about now might seem nuancy because I see people and I look at what they do and I really observe what they're all about and I categorize them. You know what I mean? I'm trying to put them into a situation that I'm like, okay, what are you all about? We've talked about behaviors. We've talked about the way that people are, but I want to see what's driving your bus. What's making you here to see me with this problem that you have? So in order for me to do that, I have to put them into a situation that is comfortable for them, something that they know. So context, you know what I mean? So we've talked about it this weekend. We'll do the parasympathetic, purple, obviously. So, I want context with everybody. If they're a business person, I'm going to talk on a business term. I'm going to create scenarios that are going to be like an engineer, like people who I see. I just want to try and create as much context as I can to create buy-in. I saw someone this morning. Garrett asked me to come to see his mom, so I came in early this morning to see her. I tried to relate to her as someone in her particular situation as best as I could. We were talking outside. I walked around her to see the way that she changed and modified her body position as I moved around her. Like, how are you navigating your environment? You know what I mean? To Ben's point. So I want to create a context that's going to be something that's going to be worthwhile to them, okay? Then I want to be able to create something that's going to be able to put them into a situation that's going to make them comfortable. So I sit and I position myself in such a way that makes them feel welcome, that makes them feel like, the barriers are down. Because most of the time they've been in environments that are, there's just, 3 patients going at the same time, or the doctor's going in on their time. I mean, they've been in these situations that have been problematic for them for a long time. So I want to create an opportunity that's going to be able to allow them to say, I'm here and I'm responsible for what I'm doing. Okay, so I want them to take some responsibility with what they're doing. And the reason I'm making them responsible is because, one, you're paying cash to see me, so there's a responsibility that's different than the therapists who are taking insurance and things like that. But I want them to have this responsibility that's going to make them feel like, I've got this opportunity now. I'm going to be able to run my numbers. I'm going to do my program. I'm going to do what I need to do to be able to get myself to that next level. Okay? Then I got to evaluate them. Then I've got to take them into a situation and be able to say, like I did yesterday, let's stand you up. Let's look at a bunch of upper tier activities. Let's lie you down. Let's look at some stuff on the table. Then let's get you back up again and see how we can create the opportunity to say, how do you navigate gravity? So I'm going to then evaluate them, okay? So that evaluation is going to evaluate. The opportunity to be able to create change, which is what ultimately we're looking to do. Can I put them into a situation that now is going to feel different? Again, I'll just talk about it because I did it this morning. I said, I want her mom to get up and feel different with her injury that she was there to see me with when she left. And to me, that's a big deal. Does something feel like you created change in your system? Your brain will work different. I'm going to react different to her than I would with that business guy that we talk about, that CEO who's coming in all intense. I'm going to act differently towards them. Once I've evaluated them, then I want to be able to apply concepts based upon what I know. Okay? I want to base things on what I know. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've been to a lot of different courses. I've been to a lot of different programs. I've learned a lot of different stuff over the year. I am constantly evolving and morphing my model, if you would. You all have different backgrounds and histories and things like that that you've taken. You know, I have a big PRI background. I've got a good manual therapy background. I got a lot of stuff that I've learned over the years that's helped me a lot. I want to see the end of the road like Pat talked about. I want to be able to say, I want to look down there, but I got to know all of this stuff to be able to get me to that end, so that if I got one person that doesn't want to know much, they just want to know the tools, I can be as simple as possible, but I've got this broad understanding that they can then have further discussions for those people that want to learn more. And that's why the more you learn, the more you'll be able to create these applications to these individual situations. I joked with someone the other day, it was yesterday, they were talking about, like, I want you to earn the right to say core. Like, to me, people throw the word core around and all these other phrases. And I'm like, no, unless you understand what the pelvic core, what the thoracic core, what the inner systems are all doing, then you're not going to be able to apply things properly. If everything in your language is brace, if everything in your language is tense, then to me, I don't think you really understand where you're coming from. And it's fine if that's all you know. But to me, you got to be able to apply stuff based upon what you've learned over the years from smart people, in environments like this that are interactive, that you can then be able to apply to your individual situations. Once I've done that, then I want to be able to train it, okay? And I'm going to train it the way that I know to train it, and it's not nearly as good as Pat's model for what he does, and it's not nearly as good as Ben's model and what he does, and Derek as well. It's just the way that I know to do it. And if I get stuck, then I'm going to consult somebody, or I'm going to ask someone, okay? And my training, to me, is something that's going to be fun and interactive, because I'm kind of more rehabby. That's the way my brain works. I've learned to be able to create a training mindset based upon what I'm doing now, because I love that. I love the opportunity of being able to create that. But for me, training is going to be mostly situations that are going to get people strong, but there's going to be a lot of movement activity with it. Most of the time with load. Sometimes it's heavy load, and I'm saddle the hell out of them because that's what they feel, I feel is best for them or they want to do. Most of the time, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. They're doing all kinds of movement activities. They'll have hand weights in their hands. They're push-pulling. They're doing all kinds of stuff, okay? And then I want to educate them, okay? And to me, this is a big chunk of my day as well. I spend a lot of time teaching people what I want them to be able to do throughout their daytime. I talk about the shoes they wear. We've joked about, I teach people how to tie their shoes. I teach grown-ups to tie their shoes almost every day. I know it sounds silly, but I do. I educate people on how they sit during their daytime, how I want them to be able to kind of pay attention when they're walking, when they're in their car. I go out to their car with them, like, hey, let me see your car seats set up. I'll go through some of those things with you just so you have little things that you can think about talking about with your clients. But to me, that's part of the complete package that they're able to say, oh, wow, this makes sense. Because there is a lot of crap out there. This whole study just came out that basically said, like, ergonomics, like all the ergonomic training, like the ergonomic process is bullshit. I did it. Yes. I'm doing a different track. I'm doing a different track. It's bullshit. So I could do twice now. I got it on tape. This is awesome. But it is. I mean, we've created these things that we feel are right, and people have all these expertise in it and all these. But the research is pretty clear. It doesn't do what they think it's supposed to do. We've created this linear mindsets. And the linear mindsets is that gravity is a problem, so let's make ourselves vertical and rigid to be able to combat it. And to me, I want people to learn, feel, appreciate, and use gravity all day long. Pat talked about heels. There's like no better contact with the ground than being able to get heels. Derek talked about up and driving and getting your system to learn to be able to use the ground. He's using the ground all day long with people, even though he's talking about it from a different element. Ben's talking about it with their ability to be able to manage gravity from a metabolic perspective. It's huge. But in order to be able to take the time to educate them, you got to learn stuff. But in particular, you've got to be smart and do what makes sense to you. I don't believe with a lot of the stuff that I see out there in the typical worlds of physical therapy, rehabilitation, ergonomics, not because I'm smarter, but just because these are my strong belief systems. I talked yesterday about saying, like, I don't even use the word posture. I teach people how to just position themselves during the daytime. Just learn how to find an area and a range that you can move around, and move around it regularly. So your system's not learning to be too static, too complacent, so that things get stiff and tight and you don't learn how to move. I tell them I want you to be a desk jockey. Be a desk jockey. I want you to move up and down. I want you to shift side to side. I want you to kind of be constantly, in this situation where your body isn't getting static. It's not about whether you're sitting down or standing up. It's can you keep your pumps pumping? And that's the way my brain thinks throughout the daytime. Is your body pumping? Do you understand how to morph and move fluids and gases through your system? And are you paying attention periodically during your daytime through some of the educational stuff that I've done to be able to create something that teaches them to do something different than they're used to? That's what I want to do. I just want to create success for them in the environment that they're in. Some of them are just they're in shit-ass environments. So, well, they are. I mean, Ben alluded to it in this talk. I mean, people are, we're working with some really disturbed populations of people. I see really troubled people, and we all do. All of you do. They're just, some of you are voicing it, and they're saying it, and some of them just aren't, and they're hiding behind it, and they're coming to you for a different form of an outlet, okay? So for me, a lot of it's manifesting in the symptoms that they're there to see me with. And I'm not ignorant of that for a second. And so I spend time talking about how they use their eyes and how they occlude their jaw and how they position their head. I go deep with some people because that's the only way they're going to create change in their body, because they've tried everything else. Or they've done stuff to a point that they've micropathoed their body to death. They've got, things have been stretched, things have been torqued, everything's twisted, they're hypermobile, the brain's hypermobile because their system can't rest. They're a mess. So I got to kind of go into the nuances with some of these people. And for me to load some of the people that I see, like Pat would advocate, not because he couldn't be able to do it, you know how to down-regulate it, but how I want them to do like Pat would, their bodies can't sustain it, at least not yet. And my goal is to hopefully get them there. And there's times where I get people to a point where I'm like, great, let's turn them over and let's load them more, and they fail regularly. And I have yet to figure out why that is. I'm not sure what it is that I'm doing wrong or what I'm missing, or if it's something that they have a barrier. They've got this anxiety inside that doesn't allow them to get to that point. But there's occasionally those people that you're just not going to have success with. And don't beat yourself up. Just keep trying. Take a step back. Try a different approach. But recognize that over the course of time, most everybody will be able to get to that level that you're trying to get them at. I think I said it to you at break, is one thing that does matter for the health of you professionally is you can't care more than they do, okay? I care a lot about the people I see, but as soon as I start feeling like I'm more invested into it than they are, then that's an unhealthy balance.